with Paul Daner, Mark Shalafoo, from listener questions to some running gags. Insider stories, ambush live, that dad life and respect for flags. Kick off the weekend, alright? It's the Growler Friday Show, it's Who Dey Light.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of Who Dey Light. Paul Daner Jr., Mark Shalafoo here with you. What is going on, buddy?
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that this is a Friday show and not a Sunday night show or a Monday morning show. So I feel much better about this being a Friday. How are you doing? What flag is flying today?
You know what? I've been slacking. I thought about this yesterday. I kind of wanted to get the Ohio U flag up. It just felt like a weekend to do it and rep the university because it's kind of a weird space. But I still have the football tailgate flag from last week. I know. What an embarrassment. What an embarrassment this is for me.
Yeah, you're supposed to be the flag bearer of the flag community. It's just like, I don't know. I expected a little bit more out of you, and we're supposed to be in regular season form here. So you need to get this flag game together. You've inspired a new generation of flag people, and they are not going to be happy to hear this.
It is getting interesting how many people say hello, and the first thing they do is ask me flag questions. And I'm like, well, I'm happy to be this. I'm happy to be this guy for anybody that, needed it for this community, really. And so it's great. And I appreciate everybody that comes up to us. Thanks everybody for listening. This is our first in-season Friday show. Sort of talked about this with Jay yesterday on our show. It's so nice to be into the routine of what all these shows are sort of designed and meant to be. And this is supposed to be our light show. So you are correct. It is very good that this wasn't on Sunday night. Your unhinged tweeting was inspirational for me, and I think it has me wanting to add a regular segment to this show that is just me ranking your top 3 unhinged tweets from the previous week's game. So I'm excited about adding that to the list this week.
Yeah, hopefully my tweets can be a little bit more hinged this week. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I don't have high hopes for my tweeting on Thursday or Sunday afternoon, especially because I'm playing golf in the morning with the later start time too. I'm going to be golfing all day, so it's going to be a mess.
Yeah,
I might actually have to delete them.
Yeah. I look forward to that. Make sure you're following Mark on Twitter. It's worth your time. All right, I want to remind everybody, send any questions you have to the Growler Podcast at gmail.com. We're going to get to some of them today. There were many. Thank you to all of you that sent them in this week. A lot of them, there was a certain tone. There's a certain tone of anger and frustration, and I get it. So we kind of compartmentalize. And so, no, if your question didn't get asked here, it's because there were many like it, and we just kind of plucked a few that are in some general themes. So we're going to get to those in a little bit. Leave all the good reviews, follow, subscribe, ring bells. Be nice to us on your reviews. They're very nice and helpful for us continuing to grow the podcast. You can do all of that at the QR code right up here. Has links to all of our stuff, whether it be YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, or iHeart, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can go up there and subscribe. Also, next live show is coming Monday, the 23rd, Monday Night Football before Bengals v. Commanders at our exclusive home for all Growler live shows this year. That is at Nation Kitchen, BetMGM Sportsbook at the banks. You know it now. It's such a fun place to go, no matter what the event. If it's a big night, you could go ahead, call ahead, go to nationkitchenandbar.com and get a table reserved if you just want to be in there, making sure you can have all your drinks and your food to watch anything. But if you're coming in for ours, do the same. You can come into our event. It's going to be the party going on the street, but we're going to be having the party in there starting at 4 o'clock. We're giving away the Chase jersey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, last time it was if he signed before the end of it, we would give it away. And everybody was very excited about that idea, and then he didn't. And so it rolled over. And so now giving away the Chase jersey, I got this really interesting body armor. Sent me a Joe Burrow cooler as like trying to show off his promotional stuff, get it out there. And so I have that I'm going to give away. We're going to be giving away bonus bets, Nation gift cards, free graders in the house. It's going to be fantastic. Natasha B, I think, is going to be there. Of live show fame, Hawaii.
That's huge.
Unbelievable. Big moment.
I mean, those shows are always so much fun anyway. It's such a party in there, and I really enjoy them because I don't have to work after the show is over. That's it for me. So I get to stay and hang out with people, have some of those $3 Cincy lights, enjoy the $6 nachos because I don't have to go run and cover the game.
Yes, I do. Oh, by the way, shout out to our friend in England, in Ireland, in the UK, Paul Malloy. Now, he's a long time Growl pal, long time, and we've hung out with him in the past. Anybody that wants to do this, by the way, can. He took Jay and I, along with some of his friends, out to a delightful dinner at Jeff Ruby's after the New England game. So they made the reservation for later when Jay and I would get done. We made it in there. They had been sitting down and having themselves quite a day, but it was a great time. Him and all his friends that were there were awesome. I ate a delicious steak. And Paul Malloy, shout out to you. Anybody that wants to come into town and attend the show and take Jay and I out to a fancy dinner, I think we're going to continue to be okay with it. Thank you to Paul and everybody that was there attending.
That is really setting the standard for Growl Pals. Yes. That really elevates it. I'm going to go this far too. I'm going to say you don't even have to be from out of town. If you wanted to start buying steak dinners in your local, I don't think those are going to get turned down. Now there is a threshold. We're not going to Chili's. You got to make sure it's a quality establishment out there, right? Like, if somebody's going to spring for White Castle, I don't think that everyone's going to make the time for that. But if you're going to spring some steakhouse money, that's going to get you in a rare Growl Pal area. And I think that would be appreciated.
Yeah, just wanted to make, but thank you. Thanks to Paul and everybody that came over and did. That was an awesome time. And so hopefully we will see some of you on the Monday Night Football game. More details on that to come, of course, for our next live show. All right, let's get to our favorite stories of the week, shall we?
Yes, we shall. My favorite story of the week. I think that there's, and I don't know that it's my favorite, but I just think there's way too much doomerism after that first week. Like everyone's so down, and it's hard to really insulate yourself from some of the overreactions from week one. There's too much of the fire Zac Taylor talk, and this season is cooked. Joe Burrow can't pick up a water bottle. Like I thought that was just a dumb little video online, and the fact that even made it into his press conference, I'm like, what is happening? I know it was a terrible week one loss. It was, the worst of the week by far, but it's still one game. There's still a lot of light at the end of the tunnel here. I hope, but I'm just not ready to turn my back on the guy that's bringing game balls to bars after playoff wins and giving us the success we haven't had in decades. And now let's get rid of Zac Taylor after the Patriots game.
Well, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long it's usually the first bad quarter of a season. There will be fire Zac tweets that show up in my timeline, no matter if they were coming off even when they're coming off the Super Bowl. I mean, that next year when they came off the Super Bowl and had a bunch of turnovers and lose a game in Pittsburgh, fire Zac was in there that day. It's like they were just in the Super Bowl. Isn't there a statute of limitations on yelling fire Zac? That when you really know that people have gone to a truly dark place is when you get some things that we saw a couple of times, whether it was in emails or comments or wherever, was blame the training staff guy is here already. And it's like, that's the barometer for people are just in a really ugly spot where it's like, you know what? These guys that are huge, giant men running in each other with the pure idea of inflicting pain and damage. It's the guys that are giving them massages beforehand. The problem here and stretching them out. They're not stretching them out right. It's look. If you're talking years and years of problems and people complaining, and it's that we can talk. Please don't go to the training staff dark place, people. We don't need to be going there just yet.
And I'm interested to see what's real and what's not. I mean, that's what I'm watching for this week. I don't know that it's going to be a whole lot better this week, but it really feels sort of like the season's going to kick off with that Monday night game. You get T. Higgins back, hopefully by then. Hopefully you've got Mims at least playing a much more substantial role. And it's going to feel a little bit more like the team that I thought we were going to see week one before the vibes changed. But, there are still some things that are concerning, right? From, that you were watching for in week two. Is Sheldon Rankins ever going to show up on this team? Is anybody on the defensive line going to play better or at least play good at all besides Trey Hendrickson? There are some things that are still concerning, but like, if you're going to go to the darkest of dark places and go after the training staff and Zac Taylor after week 1, turn on Joe Burrow, he's cooked. I mean, come on. Let's not completely lose ourselves here. And I'm not somebody that's, completely Pollyanna either. Like, again, look at my Twitter feed on Sunday and you'll see that I wasn't pleased with how things rolled out. But there was just way too much of it. You get the typical haters, but it just felt like there was just way too much negativity. The national media is having their moment, which is another thing that doesn't concern me as much as it does some fans, the way that they're just kind of blasting Burrow. And this analyst said that. I'm like, okay, he needs to fill time. Let him have his Burrow take. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, everybody certainly nationally especially has a take. I felt like, last weekend deserved a ton of criticism. I know that anybody listening to the walkout or any of it that we've done this week knows that there has been a lot of stuff that needs to be directed about what exactly is going on and what the path forward is. But you get so involved because it's just the excitement level is so high for the beginning of a season. And when it starts with something that's such a depressing performance and the nervousness of this, we keep doing this.
Yeah, the wrist
flexing, clenching, doing this. I told Jay yesterday, I said, look, like we've been watching him do that in practices and whatever for months now. But for a lot of people, that's the first time they've seen, like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he doing that all the time? Why is he says it's to keep the joint loose. That's fine. Look, that whole thing will play itself out in terms of how his wrist responds over the course of the season. I don't think there is a need to go totally to the dark place. It's an awful start, but we have seen that before. And you know what? If the Bengals beat the Chiefs on Sunday, boy, will nobody give a damn about week 1 anymore. All of a sudden it's unicorns and rainbows are back and Super Bowl bound, and people are making their New Orleans dinner reservations.
Yeah, you know what though? It's the National Football League. You see big upsets. Look at week 1. The biggest favorite of week 1 lost straight up. So that could easily happen in a game like this.
No question. All right, my favorite of the week is a return of Ja'Marr Chase being outlandish and saying bold things. We went from, we missed it. We had this entire lead up to through camp where we didn't get to talk to Ja'Marr Chase. You didn't get his normal bold claims and talking trash about the opponent and all that stuff. I feel like this means you're really back when you get what we got yesterday with him saying, look, we're the best team in the AFC. Quote, we need to act like it. We need to play like it. Pointing out, which I don't know that this is really trash talk or qualifies as trash talk anymore. It's more just statement of fact. They don't like us. We don't like them, Chase said. He also pointed out he's going to save his talking for the game because in year 4, he's learned his lesson that if he says it first, it will only cause problems in the lead up. Does this mean we're not going to get Chase talking about elves and calling the other team elves anymore? Because that makes me sad. Stop. Don't be mature. Don't grow up now, Ja'Marr. We can't have that. We need this talk. We need his making fun of the other team and then having to afterwards eat his words saying, yeah, I called the team some elves. We lost some damn elves.
Yeah, but maybe now you'll just get the elves talk afterwards, as long as he delivers on his promise to give it to you at some point. If he's going to save his talk for the game, and then hopefully afterwards he'll give you some more comments. I don't know if you're actually going to get the elves talk afterwards, but that's the hope, is that Ja'Marr still stays to some form of that Ja'Marr. It is interesting to me, though. Like you said, it feels a little bit more normal having Chase do that kind of stuff. And, there are some voids there when it comes to like leadership on the offense. Usually Joe Mixon would have some things to say, and, they kind of have to replace that spot. That captain has to kind of step up and give a different form of leadership. Who's it going to be for this offense? You need somebody to inject some of that swagger and some of that confidence in guys. And, you saw it a little bit from Chase, a little bit from Cam Taylor, Britt, some guys that are at least, trying to make this game seem a little bit bigger than some fans are attributing it to.
Not a great week to yell about Burrowhead after what happened this past Sunday.
Yeah,
but it is a great week to remind your own teammates by talking a little bit of trash of that. Everybody here should have some swagger and confidence running into this place. I actually, while usually Ja'Marr's stuff I just sort of laugh at, and that's Ja'Marr being Ja'Marr, I do think that him talking like that was a big deal yesterday. Strictly just because, they feel like a team that needs a little bit of a pick-me-up and a reminder, hey, we're all supposed to be very good, and we should be playing like it and believe it. And so I liked that. So that's one of my favorite stories of the week. Hopefully we get a little bit more of Jamar not pretending to be mature as the season goes on. Can I sneak in my top 3 favorite game day tweets of yours?
Yeah, I can try and remember what number of Bud Lights they were when they were published.
I'd never really paid attention to your Twitter feed on game day before.
Okay, so thank you for adding on game day.
Yeah.
I've never really paid attention to your Twitter.
No, feed. I mean, we haven't really gone through I haven't gone through a season or had covered a game. Really having a full attention to what you were doing. I didn't know if you've always been like this, or maybe you've just spiked it this year as a member of the Growler family here. So I'm gonna count down. Here's my number 3. My number 3 was, when is this defense going to get a turnover? Doesn't New England have any mediocre tight ends who carry the ball like a relay baton? I like that. I mean, it was bad. Of why can't they have somebody who does that? Why
what happened to the defense? They get red zone turnovers. Come on.
Yes. And then you went to a little bit of a reflective place for my second favorite, and that was apologies to Trey Wingo. The vibes are definitely bad.
Yeah, I went after him for going the vibes. Back. Yep. Yeah. But you know what? I still feel like, and I'm going to come to your defense on this, because my main thing with Trey Wingo was like he was reporting on the vibes. I trust you as my local vibes on the ground guy. So, that was my whole Trey Wingo thing. And I still feel like if Chase had gotten his deal done, which everyone said was very, very close, the vibes were going to be a lot different. If they win that game, the vibes are a lot different, but they didn't. And so, yeah, the vibes, not great. So apologies to Trey.
Yeah. You're not, my number 1, Trent Irwin caught it without fumbling. That's how you do it, white guys. It was a problem.
It was a problem.
It was a problem.
It was a big problem.
Trouble hanging on to the ball. But they got it now. Maybe it'll be better going forward. Charlie Jones, man, like we saw this happen a couple years ago with Darius Phillips, where he was having trouble with punt returns and whether it was making the wrong decision or dropping the ball. It took the second one, and all of a sudden that was the end of Darius Phillips' punt returner. Charlie Jones might, I don't know how quick the hook would be on Charlie Jones at this point, but you only get so many. You only get so many of those until you got to hold on to it.
Especially when you're on the periphery. If you're not one of the stars of the team, like if Jamar Chase has a fumble, that's not going to be the end of Jamar Chase. But if you're a guy that's just borderline as a contributor, if you're Tanner Hudson, we've got a better pass catching tight end. We drafted 2 more tight ends. Drew Sample's a good tight. I mean, how many chances is he really going to get if he pulls another stunt like that, where he's doing the baton run into the end zone and just coughs it up on the 2? Charlie Jones, I mean, maybe somebody else can catch a punt. Fair catch every punt. I don't care. Just don't turn it over like that.
Fool me once. This fool won't be fooled again. That's right.
Let's hope he won't be fooled again.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. I think it's Stanyo time. Mark. All right. Now time to bring in our friend and yours, Eric Stanyo, the Stanyo Clanyo, our realtor, Growl Pal realtor. What's going on, buddy?
Well, if it isn't Paul Downer Jr.
Oh, don't do this.
That's not his name.
Don't, you're gonna turn on me now.
No. Look, hey, the Bengals played bad. We all know that, but the vibes are bad because of Paul Downer Jr. There's no question. Oh. I mean, you are peak midseason form. You take the one thing that we have, Burrow to Chase.
Yeah.
The one thing that we can hang our hats on. F it, Jamar's down there somewhere. Our only hope. And you have the audacity to change it to F it, check it down.
Yeah.
This is a nice piece of writing.
Hey, clearly, Paul, this is all your fault. Okay.
Look, I'm just telling, it's what I saw. That's what it was. I call it as I see it. All right. Okay. Maybe that's Downer. I'm sorry. I apologize. I take full responsibility. It had nothing to do with, everything else.
Yeah, everything else. Yeah. It's good for you to take responsibility. Maybe you can redeem yourself here. I mean,
I will do my best. I will do my best. I do before you get to your question for me and any more taking shots at me that you want to do, which I fully expect now. I appreciate it. We're at that level of friendship here. Want to remind everybody, make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel if you want to know anything about buying, selling homes in Cincinnati, neighborhoods, schools, you name it. He's got it covered over at Team Stanyo, SZTANYO. And of course, if you want to be part of the Clanyo, you can always do that and reach out. All right. Do you have a question for me, or you just come here to blame me for what happened?
No, look, hey, I take some responsibility for myself. Okay. I was hanging on every one of your training camp takeaways with Jay.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful. The Bengals have a great way of tempering my overly high expectations, and they did that very well in week 1.
Yes.
But we're moving on. We're moving on to Kansas City. We're moving on to good vibes. We got to get the hope back. So my question for you is, it's a run, pass, or boot, and obviously no one knows the fan base as well as you, Paul. So I'm going to give you 3 scenarios. You tell me which of these scenarios will give Bengals fans the most hope coming out of week 2.
Okay, most hope.
All right, here we go. Scenario number 1, Burrow goes off, throws for 350 plus. Chase has 100, 150, scores a touchdown. He's grittying all over. Is grittying a verb? He does the gritty in Kansas City. But as we know, Bengals lose by 3 points or less. Bengals narrowly lose. That's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2, Burrow looks bad again. He's sped up. He's not seeing the field. The TV is zooming in on him dropping multiple water bottles.
Oh,
yeah. Chase is.
Do they just have a water bottle cam at this point? Like it's that's all. One guy who all he does is just fixated on the water bottle. Okay.
Yep. Chase is frustrated. He's open deep, but Burrow checks it down again.
Mm-hmm.
However, the run game goes off, screens to Chase Brown. The defense cleans up the missed tackles, no explosive plays, and the Bengals narrowly win.
Okay.
Scenario 2. All right. Scenario number 3. Travis Kelce shows up with a really bad pregame outfit.
Okay.
He has an unexpected public alliance and endorsement of Harrison Butker. Didn't see that coming.
Okay.
And then Taylor Swift breaks up with him mid-game and announces via Twitter that for the rest of the season, she's going to be releasing a breakup album, 1 song per week.
Wow.
Which of the 3 give us the most hope?
Well, I mean, I think in my house, anytime new Taylor Swift music gets dropped, everyone is happier. So personally, for me, my hope resides in a happy home. And so new Taylor Swift music, and I would appreciate it more because I'm really interested to see how she's going to put all kinds of weird football jargon. Like she's going to call their relationship a cover 2 with a fire dog screen or something like that. Like I could really use some kind of some football jargon in her song. So we'll just say I'll do that for my hope. I mean, but this is really this is a bad question. This is a bad question. There's
back on the Grump House.
I mean, you showed up and you immediately blamed me for the loss. Okay.
I love the tension.
There's no way you can say that anything about hope doesn't. If it's about hope, it all revolves around Burrow looking good. If Burrow looks good, there's hope. Period. If Burrow looks bad, the hope is there is very little hope. Okay.
How is this a bad question? That was one of the answers.
Yeah, but there's the point of run, pass, or boots is they're all supposed to feel equalish. Okay. They're supposed to feel like it's hard to choose between one or the other. This is obvious. If you put this poll up, you would get 100% saying your first scenario and 0% saying your second scenario. That is a poor poll. All hope resides in Joe Burrow looking good, looking like himself, doing his normal type of things, peppering the 20-yard down the field mark.
And this is why I come on the show and bring my expertise so you can slam it down.
Yes.
And trash me. Yep.
I mean,
Paul Donner Jr.
This is my show, and you showed up and immediately went after me. So I don't know which one's worse.
Someone's got to blindside you.
Fight.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. It really is. It was a good question. It's a great opportunity to talk about. Look, that's what matters. Okay, Joe Burrow's what matters. Focus all on that. So I appreciate it. And remember, everybody, this is very important to keep this in mind. If you are thinking about buying or selling a house, or you just need any information about the real estate market, this is our guy. He's our growl pal. He's your real estate guy. Go to Team Stanyo on YouTube or info@teamstanyo.com if you want to send an email. Of course, you can always do it the old school internet, World Wide Web, teamstanyo.com. Go over there and check out anything you need to know. Appreciate you coming on.
Right on,
Good
guys.
to talk to you. See you next week
too. All right.
Later. Okay, I thought that was gonna get a little more heated. I mean, that was pretty intense for a Stanyo segment.
Yeah, he came in hot, and he had a lot of that pent up anger that I had Sunday afternoon on Twitter. He just kind of saved it for you. He's like, you know who the real villain is here? Yeah. It's not the play calling; it's Paul's reporting on the game.
Agreed.
You got to take those slings and arrows in your profession like that.
I'm here for it. I'll take it. I'd rather take it from our guy Stanyo than from the YouTube commenter trolls.
Yeah, 100% on that one. How about you take some of these cues from our growl pals?
A's are locked. Let's go.
This one's from Tyler. Big fan of the podcast. Love the start. That's how everyone should start their emails, by the way.
Every single one.
Big fan of the podcast. Been listening since the very early years that the podcast growling days. Looking for you guys to be the voice of reason about the despair I think the entire fan base is feeling right now. I've been a Bengals fan long enough to remember all the heartbreaks over the years. From Kimo von Huffen, the ACL assassin in 2005, the Bengals wild card woes in the mid-2010s. I watched heartbroken too many games in Cat's Eye and Lucky's at Ohio University.
Yeah.
Now the more recent heartbreaks of the Super Bowl and AFC Championship loss. Now the entire win being taken out of everyone's sails 1 week into the season. How do we feel about the coaching after an entire offseason of preaching run stopping and a new look offense full of weapons?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the coaching?
I feel like I'm very happy that Cat's Eye and Lucky's got a drop. Shout out.
I know.
Cats.
If you're going to shout out,
I knew I should have had the flag flying. I just knew it was going to be an OU kind of day. Cat's Eye, great bar. Lucky's was my late night spot when I was there because we had a buddy who was a roommate who was a bartender up there. Would always be hooking it up. Sorry for all the money you guys lost there, Lucky's. Glad to see you're still in business. So I'll say this. Here's my thing about this coaching staff. Well, one, obviously, they've never been very good early in the season. It has been well documented. People getting mad about the lack of playing time in the preseason, and we've joked about country club off season and all of that stuff. That's their philosophy. They feel like it has paid off for them in the long run of the year, and I think there's some history that can make you buy into that. That said, I feel like what has been their strength as a coaching staff since they've been here is the ability to take the puzzle, mangled as it might be sometimes, and adjust on the fly, be willing to change things, and find something that works for this year's team by the time they really get the year going. They've done it multiple times. And that where their midseason adjustments, their philosophical shifts, things that they've done offensively and defensively have helped propel the team to great runs. I mean, 21 and 22 are the prime examples of that. And I would point to when Browning came in last year and they were able to make the most of that once they went through that Pittsburgh debacle and then kind of got straightened out with like, okay, here's what Jake Browning is. Here's what we have. How do we make it work? I think there's a long line of them taking problems, maybe self-created, and figuring out how to make these problems and these answers work together to make the team play well. That's what you're buying into with this coaching staff. That's what they've been very good at. So this mess that they put out there is just them kind of, like if you ever do a puzzle, I don't know if you're big. Are you a puzzle guy, Mark?
No, I'm an adult, so no.
Yeah.
I am not in preschool, so I'm okay on the puzzles.
Well,
I have an Xbox, but
yeah.
Are you gonna tell me you do puzzles?
I do puzzles with my kids. I do puzzles
with your kids. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
And okay. Xbox. I when you open up the box and you pour it all out in the very beginning, and it's like, oh cripe, you got to turn them all over, you got to find the edge pieces. There's a whole process, right? Games 1 and 2 for this team is when they just empty the box, right? And it feels like it's just a mess. They're very good at putting the puzzle together from that point forward. That I think is what you're banking on, and that's my theory on the coaching anger that I do like that theory right now.
But I know from when my kids were young and we did puzzles, right? Like the first thing you do are look for some of those corner pieces. So how hard is it to put Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase together in week 1? Why is it, oh, here's my Tanner Hudson piece. Let's put that in there. Here's a few checkdowns to Zach Moss. Let's try and weasel this together. Just go with your big pieces. Just target Chase relentlessly and see what happens.
I feel like this is one of those where when you put away the puzzle last time, a couple of the most important pieces didn't get back in the box, right?
Yeah.
They ended up slipping under the like cabinet that they go in. And so they basically spent week 1 trying to figure out what happened to our big pieces. They've been gone, and they're not there. I don't have them to put together. And by the time they finally got them to put together, it was too late. Everything else was in shambles. So that's a really long puzzle analogy but I think it stayed. I think we kept it together enough.
Yeah, and I like the optimism there. And listen, I said earlier, I'm not going to get on this fire Zac Taylor bandwagon. Now, I will listen to some complaints. If you want to complain about the run game, you want to throw in some Frank Pollock shots, I'll take that. As a fan, I'll get on board with that. I kind of want to see what Dan Pitcher's going to do as an offensive coordinator. You know, you want to say maybe Zac Taylor should give up the play calling. I'll even go there with you. But yeah, I do think that they're going to start to figure things out. Our next question here is from Paul C. He says he greatly enjoyed my tweets that I might delete later. So, you know, we do have some more fans of it there. Here's his point, though, and this is something I wanted to talk about, too, with you. The Chase saga. It is tiresome. That's no shock to anybody. But Paul says that it's also clear that the family just can't get it done like other teams. Other teams franchise, they find the extension. The Bengals don't. The franchise tries to squeeze a year of control out of Bates and Higgins, etc. Now this drama with Chase. Surely this has to be even a back of the brain impact on the locker room, on loyalty, and on free agents. Not to say that the impact that it has on both Chase and Higgins. With the deal being so close, make it make sense why it didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think both sides, the fact that there were 2 years, both sides were not feeling forced to make it happen. I think the Bengals originally, you know, had one of two things they wanted. They either wanted to do it before Jefferson or they wanted to do it next year. I think that was their preference. And that's why when people would ask me about it, I would often say my gut is that he plays this year and doesn't get a deal done, because if the Bengals aren't fully motivated and feeling really like this is the time that they want to do it, this is their terms, they just don't often get there. And they weren't going to stretch themselves to a place to finish it the way it needed to be finished if it wasn't the way that they kind of wanted it to go in the first place. And I think that's where you saw them end up where they did, where they got close and didn't finish. I think that's the wrong attitude. I think that they should have found a way to get it done. And I think they're on the hook for anything that comes from that over the course of this season and over the course of next year. I think that's fair. I'm, you know, if you're Jamar, you know, we know what he just wants to feel like he's got some security in case he gets hurt. And if he doesn't feel like he has that, why would he sign? You know? And so I think, you know, that's up to him to decide what was worth it, how much, but that is both sides needed to find a way to get it done. And the Bengals didn't. I think that their way of doing this does hurt them. I do think that is something, it is in the back of the brain. What they bank on is what we've seen happen over the course of recent seasons with these names that you mentioned, with the Jonah Williamses, with Jesse Bates, with these guys. Once the season starts, once it's about football and they start playing, it's about football and they start playing, and that stuff does tend to fall away. And they, you know, because they do have a pretty good locker room and typically have been winning, it's really easy to just think about football and have fun and play for your guys is what you hear a lot. And so that, I think, is what they bank on. You just wonder how long will they be able to continually bank on it. probably pretty long. I mean, I don't think a ton of it's going to change. I don't think it's a great way to go about business, but I get it. You know, that's the way they look at it.
I think it's a terrible way to go about business because, you know, there's been a rap with them for so long and they sort of luck into this Joe Burrow situation. And that's your chance to change everything, right? Like, why not just steer into that and be like, hey, we're different now. We're this now. We're that now. We're going to Super Bowls and we are going to take care of our guys like almost every other team would. And I know he's got 2 years left, but I mean, like, there were just so many of these contract things that still got worked out. I mean, even Dak got his deal right before kickoff, and I didn't think that was going to necessarily play out the way it did. And just for them to be one of the last teams left that couldn't make it happen, it's just such a bummer. And it does feel like, you know, those sort of things do add up. They did take care of Evan McPherson. They got that extension done, and I know they paid Burrow
on a low ball deal.
Yeah,
I mean, he did not get top of the kicker market.
I hate, though, that it is just like, yeah, they know that the guys will, you know, play for each other and, you know, the locker room will come together. Like, you want it all to be cohesive. You don't want it to be the locker room coming together in spite of the ownership and in spite of that stuff. You kind of want it to be a little bit more cohesive and hope that they would steer into that a little bit more and embrace that. But yeah, apparently not. So I guess it just gets kicked down the road. And so you think that, you know, it was either before Jefferson or next year. So it's not like all the cash flow issues that I've seen people worried about and that they just can't afford to actually come up with the guaranteed money soon enough.
I think there's ways around that. I don't buy that. I think there's plenty of cash on hand at Paycor Stadium. Okay. I'm going to have a hard time.
Especially after selling TVs all off season. There's cash to go around.
No doubt.
Got that TV money.
I'm sure the Bengals wish that they were the ones collecting that money. We know Hamilton County is going to be putting those together to try to deal with that lease.
So here, let's talk a little bit more about the offense, right? So this next question is, where are they going to find these explosive plays if T. Higgins isn't on the field to complement Jamar? What's the harm in putting Burton out there to help spread out the field, maybe more design plays to get Chase Brown in space? How does this offense come up with something explosive that isn't just targeting Jamar?
Well, I mean, I think that the biggest way to find those to me is doing a better job of finding that 10 to 20 yard range. They just didn't really do that. I didn't have a ton of a problem with not throwing the ball deep. I did have a problem with them not really working that middle intermediate, which is where you can get catch and run. You can get, you know, Jamar on the run and off he goes. More of those types of plays out of the slot. I mean, you saw that one. The one chunk they did get was Jamar running out of the slot. We've talked a lot about that this year, where that needs to be a spot that he's at more and that they're motioning him into and things like that. But it's also finding ways to design it. If they're going to sit back, you know, you got to find ways to get in between the linebackers and the safeties and find that middle range in those holes. And that's where they were supposed to be, whether it be through under center, play action, things like that, to find those spots. I think that is more of what it's about than even the personnel that's out there or the idea of just shipping up go balls in one-on-one spots. I mean, when you have those, I think they'll be more likely to throw them. But like Joe said this week, I mean, he's not going to change the way he plays and just start forcing the ball just to say that he did. I think it's more about the system creating more schemed open looks in that middle to intermediate range that guys can catch and run. There wasn't hardly any catch and run in that game. I think that's where a lot of your explosives need to be coming from. And the obvious of Burrow being more comfortable and holding the ball and not just instantly checking it down. So I think that's got to be a bigger part of their game. I think that's where it comes from. The Burton thing I've kind of gone through a bunch before. They got him on the field. Zac talked a little bit positively about him for the first time, really. Maybe suggest that he's starting to do what we said that he needs to do, which is continue to be in the books, continue to show that he understands and build trust week in and week out. That he knows what he's doing when he gets out there. The hard part about not being a rookie that doesn't know what you're doing out there at receiver with Joe Burrow, he can go to any play at any time, and you've got to be ready for it. And you can't be out there, and Burrow has been waiting all day to get into a certain check, and he sees the look and says, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if Burton knows it, or Burton doesn't know it, or whatever. that's trouble, right? Like you got to have guys that can get to it when you need to get to it. And so it's one thing to say just put him out there and let him run. But if they have a play open and he doesn't know the check or doesn't recognize it, and you're not confident that he's going to, that's a problem, and that can kill the whole play. So that becomes the issue of saying just put him out there and let him go run straight. Yeah, if the play that's called ends up being what's run, that's not always the case, especially with Joe. So that's my soliloquy on that.
Well, if you're staying with offensive rookies, how much does Eric All know his playbook? Do you think that we're going to see more of him in the coming weeks? Because I know some people were hoping to get a little bit more of him as the season grows.
He's proven he has. They had a lot of success with him and Drew Sample in that 12 personnel. When they hammered the run game with those two guys, they got the other, you said there's more to cover two deep shells being played across the league than ever this year. It was over 60%. In the opening week, way up. And what do you do to that? If a team's going to sit there in these deep shells in these nickel packages, come out there with your two more run blocking tight ends and run the ball at them. You've got size advantage, run 12 personnel, and it worked. It worked for their running game. So maybe they shift into 12 personnel. I think if you look at what they did well, they're going to want to do more of it. So I think you see more than just, I believe it was 10 or 12 snaps that you got of that. I think you see their running game shift to that, and you get a lot more of Eric All and Drew Sample. And he's kind of checked every box and every milepost for them. So I think they're ready to give him more action. Which
is a real credit to you, because you were like the first person banging that drum in Take Workshop long time ago that All would end the season with more receptions and more yards than Burton. I thought that was crazy.
They still got to throw him a pass, but I do think that's what's next. They had success in the run game with him doing those motions. You know what my first play of the game Sunday would be? I would run that Eric All crack motion that they did a bunch of times in the game where he comes across and then hammers the outside edge guy, except right when he's about to hammer him, you do it where he slips around him and you throw it to him out in the flat. Get them thinking about him catching the ball on that motion all day long, so they're not knowing that when he's in there, he's going to just be blocking and they're going to be trying to run. Immediately put that in the back of their heads on play one is what I would do.
I like it. Designing plays. You're like the new Taylor Swift out here, just kind of creating plays out of nothing.
Let's go. What do we got? Last question. What do we got?
Well, this is kind of a two-parter. So this is getting into vibes territory. The first one's from Brian. He said, Paul, I was led to believe there's no need for a vibes check with this Bengals team during the offseason as I doom scroll through the abyss of Bengals-related media. Blah, blah, blah. He saw something from Mike Petraglia. He referenced some quotes from Tom Brady on coaches holding players accountable. I am now holding you accountable and require a vibes check on the team before each game. Now we're going to switch a little bit. We'll pivot on vibes, right? Because somebody else has a different feeling on the vibes for week 2 in the Chiefs. And this comes from longtime Growl Pal Natasha B, who is going to be coming down to the big show on Monday Night Football. She says, hey, Mark and Paul, I'm truly not an optimist when it comes to the Bengals. I don't think she's alone there. She says, I've been a fan long enough and disappointed enough, especially early in the seasons, to know not to get my hopes up. But I woke up today with a feeling. This week has week 16, 2021 vibes to me when the Bengals played the Ravens. Maybe there's no bulletin board material from the Chiefs, but I feel like there's tons from the big media shows. I just feel like Joe and Jamar especially want to shut people up after that week 1 embarrassment, and lose guys almost always bounce back after a stinker. I'm calling my shot. I think the Bengals win Sunday. I think Joe and Jamar put up fun numbers, and I think they win by more than 3. Do you think this is crazy talk, just a fan coping, or do you feel it too? So where are the vibes at?
More than 3 is crazy talk, because as I continue to say, every Burrow Mahomes game to the end of time will be decided by exactly 3 points, and that's the way I want it to be. That is not crazy talk. Here's my thought on vibe. Vibes check is I thought the Jamar swaggery stuff was good for where they're at mentally and reminding everybody. That said, vibes are just the next Joe Burrow game. And whenever they're lowest and are counted out, that is when Burrow has always been at his best. Would you like to hear and see some numbers from my story in The Athletic today, Mark?
I would love to see and hear some numbers.
Okay, here we go. I'm bringing these in. All right, here we go. Joe Burrow as a 3+ point road dog since 2021. All right. He is 6-point dog this week. at Kansas City. Not only do they cover every single game, there are 8 of them. They are 7-1 straight up in those games, and they have been some of his best games of his career. The games back to 20 goes all the way back to 2021, week 3, 2021 against the Steelers. They were 3-point dogs. They won 24-10. Welcome to the Burrow show. Week 7 of 2021 against the Ravens. They were 6.5-point dogs. It was the absolute Bengals 2021 season breakout, 41-17. Welcome to the league, right? Week 15 of 2021 against the Broncos on the road. They were 3-point dogs. They pulled out a tough 15-10 win in that game. The divisional round against the Titans, they were 4-point dogs. They win 19-16. Of course, the AFC Championship game, they were 7-point dogs in that in Kansas City and won 27-24. The next year in week 5 on a Thursday night, or it was a night game, it wasn't Thursday night, in Baltimore, they lose 19-17 in a game that they were right there in. It was the Stanley Morgan shovel pass goal line debacle thing where they arguably should have won that game. A field goal at the end ends up salting that one away. The Ravens won 19-17, but the Bengals did cover. The divisional round against the Bills, 5.5-point dogs on the road, 27-10, probably Joe Burrow's best playoff game. The Niners game last year, 4.5-point dogs on the road, maybe top 3 Burrow game of all time, 31-17 win where he dominated. And now the Chiefs are next on that list. You want vibes? You want to talk about how you should feel about a team when they are 6-point dogs on the road and Joe Burrow is their quarterback? There's your list. That's who they've been. Now, will that change? Is Joe still able to summon this? I don't know. Like, that brings in the wrist and the early season stuff and where they're at in the defense. All of those are variables here. That said, that list is not a coincidence.
That's an impressive list.
Yes.
And, I wish that, Stanyo had seen your article before he started coming at you as Paul Downer Jr., this is a very encouraging list that we're looking at. And for those people like Natasha B that wants to get on those good vibes bandwagon, that's the kind of stuff you need. You need to be able to believe in Joe, and, the past would speak to itself, as you've clearly illustrated here for us.
Yes. Joe Burrow, always the answer. On that note, you know what? This is like, that'd be a good place. Burrow being great as a road dog would be a good place to start when you're trying to teach your young kids about how football works in Cincinnati right now. Is that just wait, little guy. Just wait till they start counting out Joe Burrow. You wait and see who he is, which is why I bring up our good friends. If you've been listening this week, I've been telling you about Future Fans. They help little kids become big sports fans. They were inspired by a Bengals run to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and a Bengals fan dad wanting to share that magic with his 5-year-old. But she wasn't interested because she didn't understand what's going on. Teaching a kid football is near impossible. They have totally reimagined how a young kid learns about the sport today. This isn't just going to be me telling you more about how great Future Fans was for me when I did it with my 7 and with my 4-year-old. Today, they're starting a thing called Kid Conversations. So my daughter Mabel and I are going to chat for a few minutes about football from the perspective of a 7-year-old, and she's going to bring the heat. Mark. All right, I am here with my daughter,
Mabel.
Tell our good friends out here a little bit about yourself. How old are you? What grade you're in?
I'm 7 years old, and I am in 2nd grade. And
That I'm your favorite person in the whole wide world.
No, not exactly.
What? Do you have a younger sister?
Yeah.
Who's she?
Rose Dana.
Yeah. Rose Dana. Yeah. Younger sister. How old is she?
4.5.
That's right. She will be 5 very soon. But now we have the Future Fans game here. You remember this, right? We did this. What was your favorite part? What was your favorite part of the Future Fans game?
When we threw bean bags into the ropes, and then we made it to the end, and we got a piece of candy.
There may or may not have been some candy involved in getting to the end with the ropes, and that's how we learned how downs work and all that stuff.
It was candy.
Then you knew all about how football works. Now, you've come to training camp the last couple of years. What did you like about training camp? Anything?
I liked watching the players do the thing where they ran and then they tried to get past the metal sled.
Oh, yeah. The rehab guys.
Yeah.
You like the rehab guys. You know what? A lot of attention should be given to the rehab guys. They don't get enough attention. I agree with you. We did watch them. Who's your favorite player on the Bengals?
Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, of course.
Of course.
I predicted Joe Burrow.
You did. It was the Athletics mock draft in the COVID year.
And Joe Burrow won.
Joe
He
Burrow.
had the
That's right. They had us do a YouTube mock draft, and Mabel sat on my lap as a 3-year-old, just like this. And you said the Bengals select Joe Burrow as proof that a pick so easy a 3-year-old could do it. And you did it perfectly that day. And here you are now still liking football. All right. What do you think?
I know.
Bengals Chiefs this weekend, Mabel. Who is going to win?
Bengals.
You think the Bengals will win? Do you know anything about the Chiefs?
Yes, I know 2 things. One, Travis Kelce is on that team, and how I know that is because he is Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
That's correct. That is correct. See the impact of Taylor Swift on the NFL right here. We watch football together sometimes.
We do?
Yeah, we do. It's a blast to do, all because, hey, you know all about football now.
Ooh.
And then you like to run routes in the route tree, right? Which one was your favorite one to do?
The go, which is number 6, because you just have to run up straight, and it's very easy.
Yes, running straight is the way to go. Agree. All right, it's time to say bye. Mabel, thank you for doing this kid conversation.
Ooh.
All right, I'll remember what I got to go say to Taylor Swift. Wow.
Bye.
There it is. That's our kid conversations with future fans. That was really fun to do. Mabel had fun with it. She had a much longer explanation of all the things that I need to tell Taylor Swift if I see her. To get into all of her favorite songs and albums in order, and Rosie's favorite songs in order. I was like, look, if she gives me that kind of time, I'll make sure I get into all of it. But I don't know if I can get all the way there. Everyone. Yeah, I want to make everybody know. Futurefans.com, $49.99. Use the code Growler to save 10%. You can get it at King Arthur's here locally, or just, futurefans.com. Go in and get that. Use that code Growler.
Yeah, if she's going to go all the way into her favorite Taylor Swift song, she needs to save that for when she goes on the New Heights podcast, now that she's going to start making the rounds as a podcast guest. I love it, though. Future fans turned her into the type of fan that's going to go to training camp and watch the rehab field. That's a next level of evaluation.
That is next level of dedication.
She did like the little rings thing. My 4-year-old, I did it with her. She loved the little beanbags and the rings. I didn't even have to integrate the candy into it, although that's a nice touch. Everyone loves a little bit of candy at the end. They're going to pick up football a lot quicker that way, for sure. But it's a very cool product.
Yeah, love it. All right, ambush light time. Did you have an ambush on me?
Not me personally, of course. I would never ambush you. I'm not going to come on this show like some people and just really take just shot after shot at you. Come in here and calling you Paul Downer Jr. and coming after you.
That's fine.
I'm a partner in this. I'm not an adversary. But our ambush question this week. With the NHL season less than a month away, and Paul's already trying to keep people away from the dark place, he's got an ambush run, pass, or boot. In this hypothetical, the NHL announces a team's coming to Cincinnati. I don't know where they're going to play, but they're coming to Cincinnati. And in the biggest leap of logic, the Athletic wants a beat writer for the new team, and Paul is getting taken off the Bengals beat to cover the new NHL team. So run, pass, or boot these future jobs for you. Would you rather stick with the Athletic to cover the NHL? Would you look for a different media outlet to continue covering Bengals football, or retire from writing and open a flag store?
Oh my God. Yes. I mean, now this is, first of all, retire from writing and opening a flag store. How many flag podcasts exist out there is what I want to know. Do you know of any?
I don't know of a single one.
The market is dying for a flag podcast. And I feel like that can be my entry point. Open a store. I guess I have to put Flags USA out of business. I don't want to do that, though. I like the Flags USA people in my hood. They're great. They give me all my flags. It's my spot. But if that's what I have to do, then that's what I have to do. But so maybe that would be my number one. I just want to have a job So if my company that employs me would like me to cover the NHL, then I would do that. If anybody, anybody wants to pay me to do anything, I pretty much do it, I mean,
Even covering the NHL. So you in this scenario, you have a job with either one. Do you want to cover hockey? Do you want to cover football?
I mean, I'd rather cover football than the NHL, just out of just enjoyment and familiarity and eyeballs. But, it's a zero-sum game, right?
Yeah, in the scope of ambush questions, these are all pretty good for you. You either have a successful flag store podcast, which some people might think that's unlikely, but guess what? The NHL coming to Cincinnati is pretty unlikely without there being a proper place for them to play. So I feel like that's more realistic than the NHL part. Or you get to keep covering the Bengals, or you cover hockey. I mean, that's a 3 great jobs for you. I wish every ambush light question could be so kind.
Yes, although it doesn't say that my flag store is successful, only that I open one. Who knows how long it actually stays open or how much? Is it possible that maybe I'm overestimating the flag market? Maybe it's not as bustling as I envision it to be.
Well, the only flag person I know is you. And then like the 4 growl pals that have now become new flag people. They've converted to your way of life. So I don't know if it's the way to go necessarily, but it does seem like a fun. Hey, listen, if you're looking at ambush light questions, it's better than the guys that come in here like, hey, name the top 3 things you hate most about your wife, or what Bengals writer, what colleague do you like the least? That's the level of question you've had to answer before in this show. So what your next job would be, that's kind of fun by comparison.
Didn't have to kill off any of my friends or colleagues this week. Huge win for me. All right. New segment this week for these road games. Road trip preview. Some of you guys maybe are going to Kansas City, or maybe you've never been, or maybe you're like, gosh, I've been so many times. But it's going to be such a different experience where it's not -8 degrees, because we've only seemed to have gone there. Talking to players on the locker room yesterday, it was amazing how many guys are just so thrilled to go to Kansas City when it's not cold, because it's always been so cold when they've had to play games there. So normal weather, not going to freeze their faces off. I'm not going to worry about flights being canceled or having to drive or anything like that. So excited about that. KC as a city to go to the football game kind of stinks, because the stadium stinks. It's out in the burbs. Parking is complete chaos trying to get in there. It's a mess. You have to get in there so early. The line is super long just to try to get in. It's not fun. Getting in there and dealing with that is not fun. For me personally, the press box is it's on the roof. It's among the highest in the league. You can hardly see what's going on. Not a fan of that. So the actual game, like tailgating's cool. Everybody's got, the grills out and barbecue's good and all that stuff. But like the actual game and getting in logisticals, not good. There's some swanky hotels in KC if you know what you're doing. One of my favorite road hotels ever is in Kansas City. The Hilton President Kansas City downtown. It is like, it makes you feel like you're in one of those like 1950s super classy hotels where everything's brass and and people are always looking out for you and attending you. They have a cool like piano bar there, and it's open late, and the food's open late, and they have a good breakfast in the morning. It's like every box you want checked. They have, the rooms are big. It's just like a great spot. Highly recommend if you get a chance. Hilton President.
Love to hear it as a Hilton Honors member that they're coming through with a solid property. Is that where you're staying?
No,
okay.
I'm staying.
Bummer.
Well, I'm staying where the team's staying. I'm not going to say that out loud here.
They don't get to stay in the classiest of hotels.
I try. Sometimes I stay where the team stays. Sometimes I don't. It usually depends on whether I could get in or where they're staying compared to what I'm doing. But Kansas City is one of those that I usually can get into where they are. So I am going to be at that. Our good friend of the program, Jeff Hobson, has an old phrase in beat writing, and that is sleep with the team or sleep with the fishes. Because you never know what could happen at the hotel or in the lobby, or you need to talk to somebody for a story that happens over the course of the weekend, and that you just never know. And so you should always try to, if you can. What
are the other Kansas City wrecks that are out there if people are going?
Well, Jack Stack is obviously a pretty popular spot to go to for your meats. Obviously, it's all about the meats. Joe's is the tourist one that you got to go to, and you get the Z-Man and all that stuff. The meat's good. The KC Power and Light district is pretty good for like general Bengals fan get together.
Okay.
I'm sure Bengal Jim is doing a big party. He's always doing those on the road now. But I've been to the ones of the KC Power and Light before where there's tons of people. I've run into a bunch of people I know and see Bengals fans all over the place down there. So it's a good downtown. New airport, thank God. Brand new airport, which is super nice and it makes me feel like I'm in the future. So that used to be the worst airport in the loop, and now it's one of the best. So if you're flying in and haven't gone there in a while, know that it's not going to be that same disastrous airport that it used to be. So that's my road trip preview on getting into Kansas City.
I've got one suggestion that you need to start working into these road trip previews is like the fans need to know this. What is the likelihood of you getting into a fist fight if you attend the game? Because there are certain cities that you want to avoid. And so you need like a fist fight like ranking system or something like that to know, like, are you going to be okay going to this game, or is somebody going to try and take a swing at you and because you have a Bengals jersey on? And I feel like to ask,
you'd have to ask somebody who's either A, been in a fight in their life. I'm not a fighting person. I've never really done that. Or B, I'm not out there. I don't know the animosity in the stands. I bet
you can pick up the vibes though. You're in the stadium. You can probably see, are they fighting? Or they
not from that press box? I can't pick up anything. Any of my binoculars just to try to see the yard lines. So it's not good. That's a good one. We would have to call in somebody. If anybody that has ever been to all of them and wants to tell me about fan vibes.
We can tap in the Growl Pals. Just send us your top 10 stadiums to avoid, ranked by likelihood you'll get into a fist fight there. Send that to the growlerpodcast@gmail.com. You can also send your Growler bets guesses into the growlerpodcast@gmail.com. We've gotten a handful of those so far. What was the Growler bet again?
The Growler bet is Joe Burrow's longest air yard completion. So this past weekend, it was 28 air yards to Chase, and everybody's talking about, will he throw it deep? Will he complete deep passes? Will he throw it deep? What is the longest air yard completion for Joe Burrow? The longest in his career or in the last 3 years is 51. That was the Arizona game last year, that deep ball to Chase. But, Will he uncork any and connect deep, throwing a ball deep, or not? Or will it be like 6? Right?
Oh no,
that is a little. I'm curious to see what some of the guesses are. I've seen some, and they're all over the map. It was fun. It was funny looking at last week's entries and how many people were still happy and optimistic about the possibility of the run yards being in the 60s or 70s, and ended up being 170. No one quite near that.
Yeah, nobody was in the neighborhood.
Nobody in that neighborhood. All right. Comedy Corner. What do you got going on? Where are you at?
September 22nd is the show that I wanted to plug. I'm at Commonwealth Sanctuary on a Sunday afternoon. It is a clean show. I'm there with Brian Bates. So if you're somebody that, doesn't like the normal comedy club environment, that's one to go to. Also, if you're a local Growl Pal, October 19th, I'm doing a proper show at Deadlow Brewing. It's an incredible room. Perfect for stand-up comedy, good food there, good drinks. I don't usually go to that part of town ever, so that is one to circle on your calendar. Shoot me an email if you want a free ticket to either of those if you're local. And I'm going to be at Las Vegas at the end of September for Skankfest. If we have any Growl Pals out there in Vegas, hit me up on that, just so I have somebody to watch the Bengals with that Sunday at a early time.
Yes, that will be great. All right, I already did my dad life here. I mean, my daughter actually appeared on this episode. I don't know what you've done to be a good dad recently, but what do you got for dad life?
So I'm still in soccer coach mode, right? And we had a game with my U10 team, 8 and 9-year-old girls this week. And now if you're just basing this off common opponents, I would have put us at a 4 or 5 goal underdog going into this game if you're betting on children's sports. Now, it is early in the season, so the results can vary wildly. But going into this as a home dog, too. And we ended up winning the game 3-2, which was great for our kids. But the other team, they were just way more intense than we were. Like, they were there a half hour before the game. They were doing jumping jacks. They were doing all sorts of prep. They brought the portable bench and tent, and they had a huge sideline of parents and grandparents. Their coach was so mad that they lost this rec soccer game. He made his kids run a lap around the field, these little girls. And then as our parents and like our kids, we were all getting our stuff together. We're leaving. The field is empty now, except for all of their parents and grandparents. And there was little girls. And then he made them start doing push-ups. I'm like, what are we doing here? This is insane. My guy, this is rec soccer for 8 and 9-year-old girls. My kids have already forgotten about the game. They're just trying to get their juice boxes opened. And you're like, we can't afford to lose one this early in the season if we're going to make the tournament. You girls are doing push-ups in front of your grandparents for not securing the road dub. It was wild. I've never seen it before.
That is tough scene. Do the parents of your team ever look at you and say, why don't we have a tent? Why
you know what?
A portable bench.
If they say that to me, I'm gonna say, hey, you guys could bring the tent. I'm running the team here. I need a tent parent to be in charge of our accommodations here on the sideline. You know,
you need the tent with the the tablet and screen under it, so they can go back and look at the video of plays and how they were executed and went right or wrong and in mid game. You know, go through the tablet.
It is. It's just insane. Like some of these parents do get super locked into it. You see it more with club soccer, I guess. Somebody was telling me that her 11-year-old like had a friend that was on a club team and she had to leave a birthday party early on a Saturday because they had a 1-hour scouting call to do with the coaches.
What?
Like they were doing like a Zoom scouting session. Like she had to go watch game film on a Saturday and had to leave her birthday party. Like this is youth sports, people. Come on, let's not lose our heads on it.
Oh my God, I love it. All right. Speaking of don't lose your heads on it, try to stay in the happy place and enjoy the sport this weekend, people. I know maybe that won't be as easy to do depending on how the club plays, but
here's the nice thing: we've got a Monday night game coming up too after it. So no matter what happens, if it goes sideways in Kansas City, we've got a fun live show. We've got the Monday night game against an easier team. There's a great chance for the Bengals to bounce back. So stay happy this weekend, regardless.
Do your best step, and just remember, think about when it's like June or April or something, and you're just fiending for football. How excited you would feel to know if Bengals Chiefs was happening in 2 days. I know I'm excited for Bengals Chiefs. It's one of maybe the best rivalry in football, and Burrow versus Mahomes is back. That's good. I'm excited about it. I will be there. Jay and I will be there, and we will have the walkout presented by Cincy Shirts for you. Remember, you can go get your merch. Anything you buy at Cincy Shirts, 10% off with the promo code GrowlerPod. You can go to our link tree and get the link to that as well if you want to go to do that. And but we'll have all of that stuff after the game. The walkout will be coming your way from Kansas City no matter what happens. All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you on Sunday night. Have a good one.